I want to encourage you today, no matter what you're facing, no matter how impossible it looks, don't let worry steal your joy. Don't let stress rob you of your peace. The enemy would love for you to stay anxious, to be overwhelmed, to live in fear. But let me remind you, God is in control. He is bigger than that problem, greater than that obstacle, stronger than any force coming against you. It's easy to look at the circumstances and think, I don't see a way out. The odds are against me. But the good news is God has already gone before you. He's already worked out the solution. While you're stressing, He's orchestrating. While you're worrying, He's arranging things in your favor. The scripture says, be still and know that I am God. That means you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to figure everything out. All you need to do is trust Him. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He need to put the dream in your heart to watch you fail. If you'll stay in faith, you're going to see doors open. The right people show up. Problems turn around, all because you chose to believe instead of worry. You may not understand everything that's happening, but that's okay. Faith says, God, I trust you even when I don't see a way. Faith says, I'm not going to let this stress me out because I know you're in control. So today, let go of the worry. Shake off the stress. Lift your head and start thanking God that He's already working behind the scenes. Your best days are still ahead. You're closer than you think to your breakthrough, your healing, your promotion, your answered prayer. Stay in faith because the God who controls the universe has you in the palm of His hand. Believe it, receive it, and live in peace today. Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges our way. We face disappointments, setbacks, delays, things we never saw coming. Maybe you were believing for a promotion, but it went to someone else. Maybe a relationship you thought would last forever suddenly ended. Or perhaps you received bad news from the doctor and now fear is trying to grip your heart. It's in these moments that doubt begins to creep in. Thoughts like, why did this happen? Where is God in all of this? Start to fill our minds. It's easy to feel like everything is out of control. But here's the truth. It may feel out of control to you, but it is never out of control to God. He sees the beginning from the end. He knows exactly where you are and what you need. Nothing catches Him by surprise. The situation that seems so overwhelming to you right now is already in His hands. He has already gone before you, already made a way, already worked things out for your good. When you truly believe that God is in control, it changes how you see life. You no longer live stressed out, trying to figure everything out on your own. You don't allow worry to consume you because you know that behind the scenes, God is working all things together for your good. It doesn't mean you won't face difficulties. It doesn't mean everything will always go according to your plan. But it does mean that no matter what happens, you can rest in the assurance that God is still in charge. Think about the times in your past when you didn't see a way forward, but God made a way. Remember the times you thought everything was falling apart. But in reality, God was putting things together for something greater. That same God who was faithful before is still faithful now. And more, the scripture says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. You may have a plan, but God has the final say. Sometimes He closes a door because He has something better. Sometimes He removes people from your life because they are not part of your destiny. Sometimes He allows things to be delayed because the right opportunity isn't ready yet. Instead of being frustrated, trust Him. Instead of trying to force things to happen, let Him lead you. Imagine how different your life would be if you truly believed that God was in control. Think about how much peace you would have if you woke up every morning and said, God, I don't know how today is going to unfold, but I trust you. I believe you are leading me, guiding me, protecting me, and working all things together for my good. That kind of faith shifts your entire perspective. You stop trying to manipulate situations and start resting in the fact that God already has it all worked out. Some people live constantly frustrated because things aren't happening as quickly as they'd like. They get anxious when things don't go their way, but when you truly trust that God is in control, you stop striving and you start resting. You stop forcing things and you start flowing with His plan. Joseph in the Bible is a perfect example. He had a dream that he would be a great leader. But before that dream came to pass, he was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and thrown into prison. If anyone had a reason to question God's plan, it was Joseph. Yet in every situation, he kept his faith. He didn't allow his circumstances to shake his belief that God was in control. And in the end, every setback was actually a setup for something greater. He was promoted to second in command over Egypt, And the very people who betrayed him had to come to him for help. If Joseph had given in to worry, if he had let stress consume him, he could have become bitter and given up. But because he trusted that God was in control, he was able to endure the hardships, knowing that they were leading him to something better. The same is true for you. That closed door isn't the end. It's leading to something better. That delay isn't a denial. It's positioning you for something greater. When life doesn't go as planned, the enemy whispers, you're stuck. It's never going to work out. God has forgotten about you. But that's a lie. God knows exactly where you are. And he's not finished with your story. What seems like a setback is often just a setup for something beyond what you can imagine. So instead of worrying, start trusting. Instead of stressing, start resting. Instead of panicking, start praising. Say, God, I may not understand this, but I trust you. I may not see a way, but I believe you are making one. That's the kind of faith that invites God to move on your behalf. One day you're going to look back and say, now I see why that door closed. Now I see why that relationship didn't work out. Now I see why that opportunity didn't happen. What you once thought was a disappointment will turn out to be a divine redirection. What you thought was a mistake will be revealed as part of God's master plan. So today, take a deep breath and remind yourself, God is in control. No matter what's happening around you, he's still on the throne. He still has a good plan for your life. He still holds your future in his hands. Trust him. Rest in his promises and know that he's already working things out for you. Life has a way of making us feel like we are constantly under pressure. There's always something to think about, something to solve, something to figure out. Maybe it's your job, deadlines piling up, responsibilities increasing, and the pressure to perform never letting up. Or perhaps it's your family. Concerns about your children, struggles in your marriage, or the weight of providing for those you love. It could even be your health, waiting on test results, dealing with a diagnosis, or just not feeling like yourself. Whatever it is, the natural reaction is to carry the burden, to overanalyze, to worry about how it's all going to work out. The mind races with questions. What if this doesn't improve? What if I can't handle this? What if I make the wrong decision? What if things don't change? It's easy to get caught in this cycle, thinking that if we just worry enough, we can somehow control the outcome. But the truth is, worrying doesn't solve anything. It doesn't fix the problem, it doesn't speed up the process, and it doesn't bring peace. Instead, it drains energy, steals joy, and makes the situation seem even bigger than it really is. It creates stress that weighs us down and keeps us from living with confidence and faith. There's something powerful about learning to release what you can't control. Imagine how much lighter you would feel if you chose to stop overthinking, stop replaying worst-case scenarios, stop trying to figure everything out on your own. Instead of carrying all of that pressure, you could simply take a step back and remind yourself that it's not your job to fix everything. That doesn't mean being passive or ignoring responsibility. It means doing what you can and then trusting that what you can do will be taken care of in the right way at the right time. It's understanding that there's a bigger plan at work. And just because you don't see the solution right now doesn't mean it's not unfolding. Think about a time when you worried endlessly about something only to realize later that everything worked out fine. Maybe you lost sleep over an issue that in the end wasn't nearly as bad as you thought. Or maybe you were stressed about making a big decision, but when the time came, the right choice was clear. That's the way life works. Most of what we worry about never actually happens. And the things that do happen often turn out to be less serious than we feared. Yet we still allow anxiety to take hold, as if worrying is a necessary part of life. But what if it wasn't? What if you made a choice today to stop letting your mind run wild with fears and doubts? What if you decided to live differently, to shift your focus from the problem to the possibilities? When you stop giving in to stress, you open yourself up to clarity and peace. Instead of being consumed by what might go wrong, you start to see what could go right. Instead of constantly feeling overwhelmed, you begin to notice the small blessings all around you. You become more present, more engaged, more aware of the good things in your life. It takes practice. The habit of worry is strong, and breaking free from it requires intention. But every time you catch yourself feeling anxious, every time you notice stress creeping in, you have a choice. You can either feed the fear, giving it more power over your mind, or you can pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that there is a bigger picture. Think about how much time is lost to stress and worry. Hours spent overanalyzing situations, days filled with tension, weeks where joy is overshadowed by anxiety. What if you could reclaim that time? What if you could use those moments for something more meaningful? Instead of replaying fears in your mind, imagine using that time to focus on solutions. Instead of dwelling on the negative, think about the positive. Instead of anticipating the worst, start expecting the best. It doesn't mean challenges won't come. There will always be obstacles to face, uncertainties to navigate, and situations that test your patience. But when you choose not to let stress control you, you find a new level of strength. You realize that you can handle more than you thought, that difficulties don't have to shake your confidence, and that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Letting go of stress isn't about pretending that everything is perfect. It's about understanding that you don't have to have all the answers right now. It's about realizing that there is a process, a timing, a purpose to every situation. So instead of carrying the weight of things you can't control, try releasing it. Instead of stressing about what's next, be present where you are. Instead of assuming the worst, start believing that things are going to work out. You'll find that the more you let go of stress, the lighter you feel. The more you refuse to give in to worry, the more peace you experience. And as you shift your focus from the struggle to the solution, you begin to live with more joy, more confidence, and more clarity about the path ahead. There is something deeply frustrating about waiting. We live in a world that moves fast. Instant messages, same-day deliveries, information at our fingertips. When we want something, we want it now. So when life doesn't move at the speed we expect, when prayers seem unanswered, when dreams feel like they're taking too long, it's easy to get discouraged. The waiting period can feel like wasted time, like nothing is happening, like progress is at a standstill. But just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. There is a process to everything in life. A seed planted in the ground doesn't sprout overnight. A baby isn't born the day after conception. A house isn't built in a single afternoon. The most valuable things in life take time, and the waiting season is never wasted. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as we expect. Maybe you're believing for a promotion, but it hasn't come. Maybe you've been praying for a relationship, but you're still single. Maybe you're working hard toward a dream, but doors haven't opened yet. The longer it takes, the more tempting it is to wonder, did I miss my chance? Have I been forgotten? Is it ever going to happen? But here's the truth. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Just because you don't see the progress doesn't mean things aren't lining up in your favor. Delays don't mean denial. They don't mean your prayers are being ignored or that your dream is out of reach. Sometimes the delay is part of the preparation. There is a timing for everything in life. If you receive something too soon, before you're ready for it, before the situation is fully prepared, it won't be as strong as it should be. A house built too quickly without a solid foundation won't stand the test of time. A plant that grows too fast without deep roots won't survive a storm. In the same way, some things take longer because they are being built to last. The waiting season is where strength is developed. It's where character is refined. It's where you grow into the person you need to be to handle what's coming. When you look back, you'll see that the times you were waiting weren't wasted. They were shaping you. They were preparing you for what was ahead. Think about a person training for a marathon. They don't go out and run 26 miles on the first day. They train, they build endurance, they strengthen their muscles. If they tried to rush the process, they would collapse halfway through the race. But because they took the time to prepare, when race day comes, they have the stamina to finish strong. The same principle applies to your life. If the opportunity you're waiting for showed up tomorrow, would you be ready for it? If the promotion came today, could you handle the responsibility? If the dream happened right now, would you have the strength, the wisdom, the character to sustain it? Sometimes the delay is protecting you. It's keeping you from stepping into something before you're fully prepared. You may not understand why it's taking so long, but if you trust that there is a process, you can wait with confidence instead of frustration. Waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. It means preparing. It means growing. It means trusting that at the right time things will come together in ways you never expected. Think about the story of Joseph. He had a dream that he would be in a position of great influence. But before that dream came to pass, he went through years of waiting. He was betrayed, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. It would have been easy for him to think, this isn't fair. I must have misunderstood the vision. Maybe it's never going to happen. But what Joseph couldn't see was that everything he was going through was preparing him for what was ahead. The hardships weren't detours, they were training grounds. The delays weren't denials, they were positioning him. And when the time was right, in a single day, everything changed. He was taken from prison to the palace, placed in a leadership role that affected an entire nation. If it happened too soon, he wouldn't have been ready. If he had been promoted before he learned how to lead, before he developed wisdom, before he gained experience, he wouldn't have been able to handle the responsibility. The same is true for you. The waiting period is not punishment, it's preparation. Every challenge, every setback, every delay is shaping you. Instead of getting discouraged, start seeing this time as an opportunity. Use it to grow, to develop new skills, to strengthen your faith, to become the person you need to be for what's ahead. One day the door will open, the opportunity will come, the dream will become reality. And when it does, you'll look back and understand why it took time. You'll see that you weren't waiting, you were being prepared. You weren't stuck, you were being positioned. So instead of getting frustrated by how long it's taking, start trusting the process. Instead of feeling impatient, start preparing for what's ahead. Instead of doubting, start believing that everything is happening at the right time, in the right way, for the right purpose. When the time is right, everything will fall into place. The doors will open, the opportunity will come, and you will be ready. Life is full of moments where we feel like we are standing at a crossroads. We face decisions, challenges, and uncertainties that make us question what lies ahead. In these moments, fear often tries to creep in. It whispers doubts, creates hesitation, and makes us second guess ourselves. It convinces us to focus on everything that could go wrong rather than what could go right. It magnifies the obstacles and minimizes our ability to overcome them. Fear has a way of paralyzing us, keeping us stuck in the same place, afraid to take steps forward. It makes us believe that the unknown is dangerous, that stepping out in faith is too risky. But the truth is, fear is an illusion. It thrives on what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, but in reality, most of the things we fear never actually happen. Think about how much time is wasted worrying about things that never come to pass. How many nights have you lost sleep over a situation that in the end worked out just fine? How many times have you let fear hold you back from an opportunity only to later realize that you could have handled it? The reality is, fear is not a reliable guide. It is not a voice of truth. It exaggerates the risks and blinds us to the possibilities. It makes small problems seem enormous and turns temporary setbacks into permanent roadblocks. But the good news is you don't have to let fear control you. You have the ability to move forward even when fear is whispering in your ear. You can take steps of faith even when you don't have all the answers. You can choose courage even when uncertainty is all around you. Courage doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you refuse to let fear stop you. It means you acknowledge the doubts but move forward anyway. It means you trust that even if things don't go exactly as planned, you will find a way through. Think about all the great accomplishments in history. Every breakthrough, every success story, every major achievement came from someone who decided not to let fear win. If they had waited until they felt completely confident, until every doubt disappeared, until every question was answered, they would have never taken the first step. The same is true for you. You don't need to have everything figured out before you move forward. You don't need to have all the answers before you start. You just need to take the first step and trust that the path will unfold as you go. Imagine how different your life would be if you stopped letting fear dictate your choices. If instead of shrinking back, you stepped forward. If instead of playing it safe, you took the leap. If instead of worrying about all the ways things could go wrong, you started believing in all the ways they could go right. Fear will always try to talk you out of your dreams. It will always tell you that you're not ready, that you're not qualified, that you're not capable. But you don't have to listen. You don't have to let those thoughts take root in your mind. You can choose a different perspective. Instead of thinking, what if I fail? Start thinking, what if I succeed? Instead of thinking, what if it doesn't work out? Start thinking, what if it works out even better than I imagined? Instead of thinking, what if I'm not good enough? Start thinking, what if I already have everything I need? Your mind is powerful. The thoughts you entertain shape your reality. If you constantly dwell on fear, you will find yourself stuck, unable to move forward. But if you train your mind to focus on faith, on possibility, on hope, you will begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. Think about the times in your past when you were afraid to take a step, but you did it anyway. Maybe it was applying for a job you didn't think you would get. Maybe it was stepping into a new relationship after being hurt before. Maybe it was speaking up when your voice was shaking. In those moments, you proved to yourself that you are stronger than your fear. You proved that fear doesn't have the final say. You do. The next time fear tries to hold you back, remember that you have a choice. You can either let it control you or you can rise above it. You can either let it dictate your life or you can push through it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. It's choosing to believe that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are equipped for whatever comes your way. So take that step, make that move. Don't let fear steal another moment of your life. Don't let it hold you back from everything that is waiting for you. You are more powerful than your fear. And when you choose to live with courage, there is nothing that can stop you. There are moments in life when we feel overwhelmed, burdened by responsibilities, and uncertain about the future. In these times, it's easy to focus on everything that isn't going the way we expected. We analyze problems, replay setbacks, and allow frustration to take root. Our minds become filled with worry, and we find ourselves mentally exhausted, struggling to see the good in our situation. But have you ever noticed that no matter how much you worry, it doesn't change anything? Worrying doesn't solve problems. It only magnifies them. It drains your energy, steals your joy, and makes challenges seem bigger than they really are. It tricks you into thinking that by obsessing over something, you're somehow controlling the outcome. But in reality, all it does is create stress. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Every worry, every anxious thought, every negative assumption is another rock added to the load. The longer you carry it, the heavier it feels. The weight slows you down, drains your strength, and makes it harder to move forward. Yet many people go through life carrying this unnecessary burden. But here's the truth. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to live with that stress, that anxiety, that constant mental pressure. You have the ability to release it, to let go of the things that are weighing you down. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It means shifting your focus. It means deciding that you are not going to allow stress and anxiety to control your life. It means choosing peace over worry, trust over fear, and hope over doubt. Think about the things that have kept you up at night, the situations that have caused you the most stress. Now think about how many of those things actually turned out to be as bad as you imagine. More often than not, the worst case scenarios we create in our minds never happen. We waste so much time worrying about things that never even come to pass. When you constantly focus on what's wrong, you miss out on what's right. When you allow stress to consume you, you overlook the small moments of joy and gratitude that are all around you. Life is too short to spend it stressed out, anxious, and overwhelmed. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, start expecting things to go right. Instead of focusing on the obstacles, start looking for the opportunities. Instead of carrying the weight of stress, choose to release it. It takes a conscious effort to change your mindset. The habit of worry is strong, but the habit of peace is stronger. When you train your mind to focus on what is good, when you choose to believe that things will work out, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. It doesn't mean life will always be easy. There will still be challenges, unexpected situations, and moments that test your patience. But when you refuse to let stress control you, you handle those challenges differently. You approach them with a clear mind, with confidence, and with the understanding that you will get through them. Think about a time when you faced a difficult situation, but eventually saw it work out. Maybe you went through a season where things didn't make sense, but later you realized why everything happened the way it did. When you look back, you see that worrying didn't help. It only made the journey harder. Now, imagine how much lighter you would feel if you stopped allowing stress to control your thoughts. If instead of replaying worries, you reminded yourself that things will work out. If instead of overanalyzing every detail, you focused on what you can control and released what you can't. When you make the decision to let go of stress, you experience freedom. You wake up with a clear mind, able to focus on what truly matters. You become more present in your relationships, more productive in your work, and more at peace with your life. So today, take a deep breath and release the weight you've been carrying. Let go of the stress, the worry, the anxiety. Choose to live with peace, knowing that things are falling into place exactly as they should. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to take it one step at a time, trusting that everything will work out in the right way at the right time. There are times in life when we feel uncertain about what lies ahead. We wonder if things will work out, if the challenges we face will ever be resolved, or if the dreams we hold in our hearts will ever become reality. It's easy to become discouraged when things don't happen as quickly as we'd like, or when obstacles seem too big to overcome. In these moments, we may start questioning whether we're on the right path, whether we're making the right choices, or whether what we're believing for will ever come to pass. But one of the most powerful things you can do is to stand firm and trust that everything is coming together in ways you cannot yet see. Even when the road ahead seems unclear, even when the answers aren't obvious, even when things feel slow or difficult, you have to believe that there is a purpose to every delay, a reason for every challenge, and a greater plan unfolding. Many times when we look at our situation, we see only a small part of the picture. We focus on what's in front of us, the setbacks, the waiting, the difficulties. But just because we can't see how everything is coming together doesn't mean it's not happening. There are things being worked out behind the scenes that we don't yet understand. Think about a puzzle. When you first start putting the pieces together, it doesn't look like much. You may have a few scattered pieces connected, but it doesn't seem like a full picture. If you judge the puzzle based on how it looks in the beginning, you might think it's just a mess of random shapes. But as you keep placing piece after piece, the image starts to take form. Eventually, what once seemed like a confusing collection of pieces becomes a clear, beautiful picture. Life is the same way. Right now, you may be in a season where things don't make sense. You may feel like you're just putting random pieces together without seeing the full picture. But that doesn't mean the picture isn't forming. It doesn't mean that things aren't aligning exactly as they should. The key is to keep moving forward even when you don't have all the answers. Keep showing up, keep believing, keep doing what you can, and trust that things are falling into place. Just because you don't see progress at the moment doesn't mean it's not happening. Think about how trees grow. When you plant a seed, you don't see anything for a while. You water it, you care for it, but for weeks or even months, there's no visible sign of growth. But underground, something is happening. Roots are forming, foundations are being established, and one day, when the time is right, the tree begins to sprout. If you had given up on the seed just because you didn't see immediate growth, you would have missed out on the full potential of what was being developed. The same is true in life. Just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean that progress isn't happening. Sometimes the most important growth is the kind that happens beneath the surface, where no one can see it yet. There are so many stories of people who faced setbacks, delays, and challenges, but refused to give up. They kept believing, kept pushing forward, and eventually they saw everything come together in ways they never imagined. Think about an inventor working on a new idea. They don't always get it right the first time. They make mistakes, they face failures, they experience setbacks. But they don't stop just because it's difficult. They keep trying, keep adjusting, keep believing that if they stay committed, they will eventually find the right solution. The same principle applies to every area of life. If you hold on, if you refuse to let discouragement take over, if you keep trusting even when it's hard, you will see things fall into place at the right time. Waiting can be one of the hardest things to do, especially when you don't understand the reason for the delay. But waiting is not wasted time. It's preparation time. It's the time when you are growing, learning, and being strengthened for what's ahead. When you look back on past experiences, you'll often see that things worked out exactly as they should have, even if it didn't feel that way at the time. What once seemed like a delay was actually protection. What once felt like a setback was actually redirection. What once looked like failure was actually setting you up for something even better. So no matter what you're facing right now, hold on to the belief that things are working out in your favor. Keep your heart open, keep your mind focused on the good, and keep moving forward with confidence. One day you look back and realize that every step, every challenge, every moment of uncertainty was leading you to something greater. The pieces of the puzzle will come together and you'll see the full picture of what was being worked out all along. Life is filled with uncertainties, challenges, and moments that test our patience and faith. But no matter what you are facing, you don't have to live stressed out, worried, or afraid. You don't have to let fear dictate your choices or allow anxiety to steal your peace. You have the power to shift your focus, to release the burdens that weigh you down, and to trust that everything is falling into place in ways you cannot yet see. There will always be obstacles, delays, and moments that don't make sense, but that doesn't mean you're off track. Just because you don't see progress right away doesn't mean it's not happening. Like a seed planted in the ground, the most important growth often happens beneath the surface before anything becomes visible. The key is to keep moving forward even when you don't have all the answers. Keep believing even when things seem uncertain. Keep trusting even when you don't see the full picture yet. Worrying won't change your situation, but choosing peace will change the way you experience it. Stress won't make things better, but releasing it will allow you to live with freedom and joy. Look back at your life, at the times when things seemed impossible, yet they worked out, at the seasons when you felt stuck, yet somehow you moved forward, at the moments when you thought you wouldn't make it, yet here you are. Every challenge, every delay, every struggle has shaped you into the person you are today. And just like before, what you are facing now will lead you to something greater. So take a deep breath and let go of the weight you've been carrying. Release the fear, the stress, and the need to control everything. Trust that things are working out for you in the right way at the right time. Stay patient, stay faithful, and stay open to the incredible possibilities ahead. Your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. And when you look back, you will see that every step, every delay, and every challenge was leading you to something far greater than you ever imagined.